Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 38, Section 18, and Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body. This meeting of the Select Board will be conducted both in person and via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and our parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, members of the public and committee members may attend the meeting in person or for those who wish to do so remotely. For those who are not in person, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Pursuant to MPL 7C 30A Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Beginning the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. This meeting is being recorded by the town of Great Barrington, the Berkshire Edge, and the Berkshire Eagle, and other members of the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of agenda items of those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed. Other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. And all 5 select board members are here in person. So I'm going to start with select board's announcements and statements. I'm going to read a statement. The town of Great Barrington was notified Thursday evening that the Housatonic Waterworks have applied for a rate increase with the Department of Public Utilities. There were no details provided in that brief phone conversation. Subsequently, the Berkshire Edge, Berkshire Eagle, and the newsletter produced articles providing details of the filing, including a substantial rate increase. The topic of the rate increase is not on tonight's agenda. The open meeting law requires an agenda be posted at least 48 hours prior to the meeting, weekdays and holidays excluded, except in emergency situations. The select board has not had a chance to discuss a substantial increase. I can assure you the select board will take this matter up at the July 10th meeting, and as we have in the past, will apply for intervenor status. The Great Barrington Select Board will support the ratepayers of Housatonic Waterworks throughout this process. Ben?
Thank you. I second that statement, and I urge everyone, if you are interested in following along, to look at the docket on the DPU website and get more information and kind of follow the process and apply or give your public comment there. I know I will be doing that. So thank you.
Go
I just want to thank everyone for participating and making the donation. That's this year's Relay for Life, and I especially would also like to thank Eric for your quite generous donation. We really appreciate it. For a smile on everyone's face. Thank you very much. And if there's still time to donate, if you're so inclined, if you maybe don't want to take some money out of your pocket, you can do it easily by going to the Prague on June 28th. We're doing a dining for $, which won't cost you a penny. You go in there, have your regular meal, and they'll take some of their money from your meal and donate to the relay. So thank you, and appreciate your assistance. Thank you.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Just a reminder that the housing subcommittee is meeting tomorrow at 5:30. Housing continues to be a crisis that we all need to address, and I welcome everyone to the housing subcommittee tomorrow at 5:30.
Thank you. Town manager's report.
I have 2 updates to share tonight. First is the interim library director, interim assistant library director for our libraries. So Donna Brown has been appointed interim director, and Christine Warner has been appointed interim assistant director while we complete our recruitment process for the permanent positions. So I just wanted to thank both of them for stepping into these roles, and also thank Samara Klein and Talia Liadari for sticking around on a very part-time basis, at least for a while longer, to help us through this transition. And hopefully we will be fully staffed and open regular hours very soon. And then my next update is the fire chief appointment. At our last meeting, I mention that we offered the position to one of our finalists, and tonight I'd like to just elaborate a bit by announcing that Scott Turner, the current fire chief in Three Rivers, Mass, has accepted the position and will be starting here at Great Barrington on September 1st. Chief Turner has 29 years of experience in fire services, 10 as chief in Three Rivers. He's already in regular contact with our interim fire chief, Jim Mead, who will be assisting him with that transition. That's all I have.
Thank you.
We'll get a press release out like we normally do for new hires once he's on board.
Okay, next is licensing and permits. I move Dave Isby up. Dave Isby for WSBS Radio requesting 7 one-week-day entertainment licenses for their annual Sounds of Summer event held at the VFW. Dave, do you want to just give a plug for that while you're on?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Excellent. So, yeah, so this is our 11th season of the Free Community Concert Series down at the VFW Fairgrounds. And we invite the public to stop by again Tuesday night starting at 6 p.m. July 11th. And we've got the band lineup up at WSBS.com. So you can go take a look to see who's going to be performing this summer.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve 7 one-day weekday entertainment licenses for the annual Sounds of Summer event held at the VFW July 11th, July 18th, July 25th, August 1st, August 8th, August 15th, and August 22nd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
A. Joshua Kelleher of JJK Productions LLC of 118 Lee Street, East Long Meadow, for 3 one-day temporary entertainment licenses for a concert series on July 8th, 22nd, and August 26th at Ski Butternut. There's someone on? Yeah. Joshua, do you want to just give a plug for what you're doing?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Great. Yeah, I was hoping to do our second season up at Summer Stage at Ski Butternut. We have a Tom Petty and Eagles tribute on the 8th scheduled, Sublime and Grateful Dead tribute on the 22nd, and The Machine performing Pink Floyd back again this year to perform the Wall album in its entirety.
Thank you very much. Do you have a motion?
I make a motion to approve 3 one-day temporary entertainment licenses to JJK Productions on July for a concert series on July 8th, July 22nd, and August 26th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
Any questions?
Joshua, I was just curious, last year, were there any issues with resources like access to bathrooms or water?
So at the last concert, we got a little bit of a surprise with walk-ups. You know, we had, I think, 350, close to 400 tickets pre-sold, and we usually account for about, 100 walk-ups or so, and we got a little bit more than we had thought. So this year, that was number 1 on our list to make sure that if we have like nice weather, to expect more walk-ups than normal and prepare for that. We are only serving, I believe, the pit stop, the deal we worked out, they're serving food and water, and then we are presenting the bands and serving beer and wine.
Was there any police presence there or anyone to make people get out of hand?
Yes, for our license last year, we were required to hire police security, which we requested 2 officers at each concert. We received 1 at the first one, 1 at the second one. They couldn't fill, they informed me they couldn't fill the last one, so we hired private security.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Want to just go with the next one?
Yes. I make a motion to approve 3 one-day beer and wine licenses for the above mentioned concert series to JJK Productions on July 8th, July 22nd, August 26th, from 4 PM to 8 PM.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Good luck to you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
You too. Under new business, we are going to pass over tonight the library services for non-certified libraries. A recommendation to the trustees. We're passing it over at the request of the Alford Select Board, and we'll bring it up at a future meeting.
Is there a reason why they asked that? May I ask?
They're meeting tonight and they are going to discuss it tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. Annual reappointments. Do I have a motion? Yeah.
I make a motion for the following annual select board reappointments. Bill Cook for the Affordable Housing Trust. We have Bill Cook, Fred Clark, and Garfield Reed. Should I go one by one?
Let's do one better. Yeah.
Okay, for the Affordable Housing Trust, Bill Cook, Fred Clark, and Garfield Reed.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Garfield, you recused yourself on that one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make it for the record.
For the Agricultural Commission, Ambrose Clausen, Vivian Orlowski, and Krisha Kusha.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
For the Conservation Commission, Michael Lanu.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
For the Cultural Council, Elisa Haskins Bond.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Design Advisory Committee, Jennifer Clark.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Fence Viewer, Kurt Barbieri, Bernard Drew.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Historic District Commission, Abby Schroeder, Fred Clark.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Through the Public Waterworks, temporary relief for residents, customers. Go right ahead.
Okay, so we started this conversation at our last meeting, as you recall. And in your packet for this evening is an executive summary intended to begin a conversation on how we'll use the $250,000 in state funding when it does arrive. So if anyone who's participating from home or in the audience this evening missed the summary, we're again proposing a program that would reimburse Housatonic residents and Housatonic water customers up to $500 per household for the installation of a home filtration system, retroactive back to 2018 when the manganese really started spiking. And this would provide relief to 500 property owners. There's currently 850 connections to the system, or to tenants if they have the permission of their landlords. And just to wrap this up, if funding remains available after 6 months, because we don't know how many people will actually apply for funding or install a home filtration system, we can revisit this conversation at that time and then consider providing additional funds to approved recipients or some other use for these remaining dollars. So I'll leave it there and let you take it from there.
Let's start the discussion among the select board and we'll hear from members of the public too if anybody wants to speak.
Do we have dates and times, et cetera, when these are gonna be installed or when they have to sign up? Or
Well,
how are we gonna find out?
no, it says on here that it goes backwards, 2018. So they can provide a receipt. They've already done it. They can provide us a receipt. We would reimburse them.
Correct.
And we don't actually have those.
We don't have the money in hand yet, so there's no dates. Yeah,
Okay,
we're waiting till we get the money in hand.
good to know.
Yeah.
So, Mark, if we wanted to give every Housatonic Waterworks customer part of this money, what would that how would that work out?
That would be just under $300 per household, $294 per household.
Which would $500 doesn't go that far towards the whole house filter, right? But that amount of money does get people pretty close to like a biological level filter for drinking water, cooking water, which could be you know, a form of relief, and that helps in one aspect, it's not the whole house, but that's one thing I've been thinking about as far as, you know,
But I was just gonna say, depending on where this conversation lands tonight, the Board of Health is working on some kind of recommendation to help Houston residents navigate purchasing of filtration systems so that they can purchase a product that will not only address manganese, but illicit acids and other contaminants that need to be addressed.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, this is such a balancing act. And, you know, I appreciate the work that you've done, Mark, and to the town staff, because it's, you know, there's such a need to address this issue and to come up with something that really addresses everyone's issues in terms of people that have already purchased filters, whether it's a whole house filter or something not as complete. One question I've had is, you know, there's a lot of questions for people that don't really understand the choices and how do you go about putting a filter in, and, you know, if they get a licensed plumber, what does that mean? And can they do it themselves? So I would just hope that the select board would provide direction to people when they get this money, if they get this money, you know, what are some of the options? And, you know, yes, they've done a filter, but what else can they do to address the concerns with, you know, the big picture and the long-term effects? Because, you know, this is a Band-Aid, and this is something that we're going to have to address for many, many years, unfortunately. So I just feel that select board, you know, to provide leadership and say, okay, well, we're doing the best we can now, but we know that down the line in another year, we might be addressing this. So I just have heard from people saying, okay, yes, thank you for the generosity and this money, but what do I do next? So I really hope that we have a way to keep, you know, the communication open and provide leadership on, you know, what to do next. And so that's my thoughts.
Sure.
I think, you know, again, this good starting ground, but I think it's, as we know, every case is different, right? And everybody's concern is slightly different. Some people experience the tea-colored water from, you know, May till the end of October. Their main concern is laundry and, you know, issues like that. They're, you know, they already have like a water delivery service or something. So I think we have to treat each case differently. And I think this proposal here has it somewhat set out, but I think, you know, like Ben was saying, I think some people should and could choose the option of a simple water filter, a high grade one. So, you know, as we know, if your water's clear, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's fully safe to drink with the HA5, right? So obviously repeating facts we already know, but I think it should be open to each customer knowing what is most important for them, knowing that the whole house filter, although, you know, it's a bigger fix that way, you know, it catches more issues, but it's not a, you know, then there's the added cost to them, which everybody needs to keep in mind as far as swapping filters out and, you know, future cost. So, and maybe, you know, there's a lot of people out there that have Housatonic water, that their water does run clear, but they're just concerned about drinking. So they would just go with that. And if people made those decisions accordingly, I think there is enough to give everybody a bit of a Band-Aid here in this situation, I guess. You know, if you're not concerned about the iced tea colored water, you would go with a high-end water filtration system, and we can help as many people as possible with this proposal, which again, like Lee said, I appreciate all the hard work on this, Mark and town staff. So.
Man, just
Of course.
ignorance, I have no idea what a water filtration system, high end or otherwise, would cost, and what that $500 is going to do. I have no clue, so I would like to know.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the number, it varies on the system that you install. Average seems to be around $2,500 for a whole house filter. It's for kind of something that a high quality filter that you can just kind of keep for your drinking cooking water. That's probably going to be around $400 range. Let's see. We'll pick for ours.
these are different steps than like just a Brita, you know, Brita, a simple Brita doesn't catch all the things we need it to filter out, you know, with the HA5. And, you know, there is varies in cost and quality, but it's safe to say that, you know, you're 1,500, 2,500 for a whole house system, which gives you safety for laundry and stuff to a certain extent.
Right.
But then, you know, each filter has to be swapped out.
Those filters go through pretty quickly.
Yeah, and in the high season where it's troublesome, you're swapping, yeah, supposedly they last for 6 months, but they're not gonna, you know, so. In the houses that have the locations that have the trouble, is so.
Yeah, I guess, you know, feeding off that, you know, my concern, although I'm not a Houstonic Waterworks customer, is, you know, the long term. So let's say I pay to put this filtration system in, and then, you know, in 3 months' time, I can't afford to change the filter out, and then I'm stuck with this. And then is it getting worse? And, you know, so that I'm thinking the long term that, you know, it's and I'm not putting this down, but I'm just saying that the fear is, yes, I can afford it just to get in, but then the filters, and then, you know, is it working? And if there's a problem, and so, I mean, again, there's no perfect fix at this point, but I just want to make sure that when people have questions, you know, where do they go to put it in? You know, what licensed plumbers are available? Are they charging the right rate to put it in? So, you know, we don't want people to take advantage of this, and not to say that people will, but, you know, there could be a thing that all of a sudden there's all these plumbers coming up saying, hey, I'll do it. So I just want to make sure that if people have concerns and questions and issues, that we're here to guide them and say, okay, yes, that's great, you have it in, but down the line we'll be there supporting you. Because because it's such a long-term issue, I want to make sure that people feel that we're with them along the way, every step. So
I want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a town, are we allowed to solicit, put out bids for plumbers so we don't get shafted, or we know that we can get someone that's going to be reasonable for everyone instead of having 19 different people coming in charging 19 different prices? Of course, I'm exaggerating the number, but
I was trying to avoid having the town get involved with the installations.
I think we need to myself.
My concern was that that we may be liable for the installations later on down the road. I mean, the goal here is to provide some assistance to make it as affordable as possible for Houstonic Waterworks customers. Trust me, I would love to be able to say we're going to fully fund a high quality system for every home in Houstonic, but
yeah,
with a limited amount of funding, that's a challenge. I know we're all struggling with that a bit right now.
Can we talk with town council to see if that would make us?
Well, let's see if we want, I'm not in favor of that, to be honest with you. I think it opens up a can of worms. I don't think there's enough plumbers around anyway, so I think if we leave it, try to bid, I'm not sure we find anyone, and I think people need to find whoever works on their house, because it's very hard to find plumbers, electricians, any kind of contractor, so.
This is true, but as a town, I don't know, I'm just saying stuff that I think is super needed. I think we should do everything within our powers to take care of this, because it needs to be taken care of. It's gone on forever. It's going to go on much longer. It's going to be more costly. I don't know. I don't have an answer, but I think we need to do everything we possibly can. And if that means just buying out a plumber, and if it's not going to make us a liability, let's do it.
I mean, at the very least, what we could have got a directory of people who knew, if a plumber signed up saying that they were available to do this kind of work.
That's reasonable.
When I was serving as the health agent for the town, I had a list of septic installers, and I just had a clause at the bottom just to help people find local contractors. And I had just had a clause at the bottom noting that we weren't endorsing any particular company. So we could certainly do, and I think you'll see that from the select, for the help when the time comes.
yeah, I think that would be helpful to have a list.
That makes sense.
Yeah, just make this as easy for the customers of Houstonic Water as possible, just because they've been through enough.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to erase as much friction from this process as possible.
Makes sense. Let's hear from some members of the public. L, name and address, please.
Hi, Ellen Lahr, 208 Pine Street in Housatonic. I have a few questions about this as a homeowner and customer. I'm just interested in, particularly, I think some people already covered this. What about people who may not be able to afford an installation of a full water system, but maybe they've been paying for bottled water? How would they benefit from this money? How could they apply? Particularly tenants in rental housing, maybe their landlord's not putting in a filter. How do they apply? How do they get into this program?
So a couple of things, Ellen. One of the things I know that's been discussed was bottled water, but that is, is not going to last long where a filter would last longer. And we are allowing tenants to do this as long as they get permission of their landlord.
Right, but a
We're
tenant,
trying to stretch this money as far as possible.
right, but it's kind of up to the user to decide how they will use that money. For instance, if a tenant gets $500 to help offset their spring water, whatever they're having delivered, they could decide how they're going to spread that out over time. I really think it's a problem to just limit this program to people who are installing expensive filters. I think other people need to have some relief.
Your next question? Ellen, go ahead.
Oh, again, you have set aside about 500, assuming maybe 500 customers, many of whom may have already installed filters many years ago for whatever reason, just because of a personal preference. So it could be that you have a lot more money left over after 6 months than you may be anticipating. What happens after 6 months? If there's a pot of money still sitting there, how do you, I think there's needs to be a plan for that.
We would go through the same process. And this is retroactive to January 1st of 2018. So somebody has put one in and they have receipts, or they can get a receipt, they can apply for the $500. But we anticipate there could be money left over, and we'll go through this process again to decide whether we're going to give more money to the people who we've already given 500 to, or we're going to open it up in a different manner.
I would just encourage the town, if there are people out there who have the means to support their water filtration system on their own, that they perhaps step aside and leave that money for people who really do need it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. Ann O'Dwyer.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, thank you. So Ann O'Dwyer, 26 Kirk Street. And I'm speaking tonight as a resident of Housatonic. I personally have some concerns about the proposal to use the $250,000 to reimburse $500 to those who already have or will purchase a whole house filter. A couple years ago, my husband and I did purchase about a $400 to $500 filter, which was installed. But this past summer, we found it made so little difference. We had lots of brown water, and our sense now is the money that we invested in this lower cost filter was wasted. So even before we heard about this plan, we decided to take the leap to the more costly, but by all accounts more effective whole house filter option. We are fortunate to have the funds to pay for this more expensive option, which my understanding is a low of $2,500, an absolute low, to $3,000, and can even run as high as $5,000. But we won't be applying for the $500 reimbursement, just dovetailing on what the previous speaker said as well. I feel that the Housatonic Water Relief Fund should not go to people like me who can afford the $2,500 to $3,000 expense, but should be allocated to those who don't have the resources available to them to make such an expense at this time. Those who use the $500 to get a cheaper filter will not find their water all that much better than those with no filter. And that, at least again, I'm speaking from my personal experience with the cheaper filter. I doubt that $500 will make or break whether or not people with the financial resources for a more expensive filter can afford one. If I didn't have the 3,000 to spend, I doubt $500 would help me much, as I still wouldn't have 2,500. And since I do have 2,500, I can make the stretch to 3,000 or even a little bit more as needed. So it seems to me that $500 to all those who can already pay out of pocket 2,500 or 3,000 is only going to help those who already have resources and options. And I just also want to say I appreciate Garfield's question. I do think the select board getting more information about what are the different costs out there to residents, how much do these cost, and what do they do, and what have been people's experiences, I think would be really important.
Thanks, Ann. Elizabeth Rockefeller.
Yes, my question is, would the town pay for water testing? Like Ann said, after the installation of these filters, and keep records of all residents tested to evaluate if the filters actually make an improvement or not?
We haven't talked about that. We'll put that on our list to talk about, Liz.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Deb Herman.
Deborah Herman, Housatonic, 373 North Plain. I appreciate the interest of the town in helping people in Housatonic financially. I myself put in an expensive filter system, but I really feel very strongly that the responsibility for giving us proper water that we can safely drink and bathe in and use for all normal purposes lies with Housatonic Waterworks, and that the Board of Health, the Department of Environmental Protection, and all those who have oversight have really let down the people of Housatonic in allowing this system to deteriorate and to, you know, provide a health risk or present a health risk to Housatonic residents for so long. And even if well-meaning and well-funded people came along and attempted to fix the system tomorrow, the people of Housatonic still face years of problematic water. So I think it's time Housatonic Waterworks steps up and does something for the people of Housatonic who it's been, I hesitate to use the word poisoning because I know they'll probably sue me, but they've been providing us with water by their own admission is unhealthy. And you cannot sue them in small claims court because they will escalate your case to civil court where you cannot afford it. So you cannot get them to take any responsibility. And so I ask the town, I ask the state, I ask those who have power to do something because this is unconscionable. Thank you.
Thank you.
And 15 Pleasant Street. My wife owns a house. It's the first time I've said my wife owns a house in Housatonic. And I'm not weighing in on whether this is or isn't a good idea, just a suggestion, which is some sort of a sign up so that you don't become installer number of 501 and suddenly find out there's no money there. So some way people could alert you that they want to do this and they have some number of months to complete it. Just a suggestion. Thanks.
Thanks. We don't have to vote tonight on this. Money's not in hand. You want more time to think about it? That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like Deborah said, I mean, the elephant in the room is that, you know, Housatonic Waterworks really should be stepping up, and it's frustrating to try to do as much as we can and still come up short. So I would be, you know, open to having more discussion because I appreciate the creative solutions that we're coming up with, but just listening to people's concerns is really helpful. So we might be able to find something.
It would be, yeah, I agree 100% with what Lee Davis is saying. And I think it would be helpful that maybe if, I don't know how close the Board of Health is, but with their paperwork, but maybe since we don't have the money in hand, I think we take some time and evaluate all the above.
Yes, go ahead.
If I may add to the discussion, Donna Jacobs, 265 Park North. If I were to receive a stipend of $500 to install a whole house filtering system, I would not have the $2,500 to pay for the rest. So while it's a lovely idea to be helpful to us in Housatonic, it's not. helpful. And it's putting the burden of providing potable water, healthy water on the shoulders of the residents. And that to me is I don't quite understand how we're even thinking of putting that burden on the residents. We're already paying for water. We're paying for water to drink from commercial resources, and we're paying Housatonic Waterworks to deliver literally brown water to my home anyway on Park Street. I think we need to be a little bit more creative and not place the burden on the customer who's already paying once and twice to have something to drink. And the way we have to conserve water, it's as if in my house that was built in 1890, I'm back to the time of 1890, and literally functioning that way to conserve every couple of cups of water so that I don't have to be running to the co-op or somewhere else to be filling up water.
Thank you very much.
I had one other thought.
Yeah. Liz, do you have something quick to say, or your hand just up again?
Yes, I do. Has anybody on the town board gotten in contact with the federal EPA to check the Housatonic water system under the Clean Water Act? I'm under the impression that this would be free through the Clean Water.
That we're in process of doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Bill Napo, 1081 Main Street, Housatonic. I guess my question is to the board and to the town manager. Back in May, we did a annual town meeting and we voted on the town would take over and own and operate the Housatonic Waterworks. Since then, I feel like nothing has been announced or promoted and updates on what's going on with that, other than what's happened tonight as far as helping the citizens with filters.
So Bill, that was not a, let me answer, I'm gonna let you go on. Things are happening behind the scenes. That's how negotiations happen. That's how discussions happen. But we have not talked about in public or in private. The only way to take over a company would be by eminent domain, and that we haven't gotten to that point yet. I mean, there has to be two willing parties.
No, I understand. Yeah. I understand, but I wanted to get an update. And then when we saw the news Friday with the Housatonic Waterworks asking for an increase in fees, that's why I came tonight to address the situation. I just wanted to know if you could possibly give us an update. Is it July 10th, what we're talking about next week, when you're going to start discussing this openly and out in the public, or is it still under executive session?
As far as any purchase, any negotiations would be, but we will talk about intervenor status and what our directions are as far as the rate increase on July 10th. That we will talk about that.
Okay, and I'd just like to make one comment about that rate increase. If the town is taking over the Housatonic Waterworks eventually, I feel that the rate increase is not reflective on the kind of water that we're being served or delivered, but also at that time and point, it shouldn't exceed the rates of the Great Barrington Fire District water. It would be a town entity and town water company.
You are so far ahead of us. I'm not disagreeing with you. Okay. We're not there yet, but I do appreciate your comments. But I agree.
Address it or bring it up. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Steve. Michelle LeBear, 70 Division Street. Again, it's a nice gesture, that $500. I can't afford a whole house water filtration system. I can't. So it's almost like taking a Tylenol when you're in labor. It's a nice token gesture, but it's not going to take the edge off of that pain, there. On top of it, Housatonic Waterworks moving forward for a rate increase on water that can't even be used. That is, they're holding the people of Housatonic hostage. So my husband and I were talking about this weekend. We can't afford that rate increase if it goes through. We can't afford a whole water system. We can't afford a well. We're getting ready to retire. We were going to do short-term rental in our house and now we're limited on that. So we're screwed essentially. And I'm going to be quite honest with that. But the thought that something like water, somebody can do this, a company can do that to an entire community where there's your main community, the town of Great Barrington, is going on. I think it's a nice gesture. Mark, again, thank you for doing the work on it, but it's not going to really matter to a lot of people. And I think that's a great comment somebody made, you know, if somebody can really afford it, let the next person, although they certainly do have a right to apply for it. That's not it. It's a personal decision. But in the bigger picture, with that rate increase, that's just disgusting. Just the thought of that just makes my skin crawl. And this is a Housatonic family on top of it. So the town of Great Barrington really needs to think long and hard. On Facebook, someone asked, is Great Barrington water rates and Great Barrington Fire District rates cheaper? They most certainly are. I used to live in Great Barrington and I barely felt a dent with my water charges. So like I said, if we were getting Poland Springs out of our taps, maybe a rate increase we could swallow, but we're not. I mean, when you have to take your laundry to a laundromat to do it, or you're using money there, or buying filters, or buying bottled water. So, although again, it's a nice gesture, it's not enough. This has been going on a long, not since back to 2018, born and raised here, and was kicked down the road, maybe not by this select board, but select boards previous. So it's time to do something. Thank you.
Hold on. So let me just say this. Normally, I try to keep to one subject, but I think the people of Housatonic are frustrated, have a right to be. And I'm not going to stick to the one subject for the people who spoke. I think what we need to try to do is figure out, and I think Eric has already said it, I think we will discuss this again on July 10th and try to come up with a solution. Maybe the solution is as well thought out as this is the people, we ask people to apply for $500 to spend any way that they wish on water, and give us a receipt or something, or tell us how it's going to be spent. And as far as it goes, but something we can talk about again. Lee, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just along those lines, to the point that there are some people that are able to purchase their own filters without this support, if we have a bank set up. So for those people that elect to donate their $500 to this bank, and we have a sense of how much extra money we have, and we can make it anonymous, or we can celebrate the people that are doing this nice gesture. But that would be helpful to have this bank and say, okay, I don't need the 500. I'm going to put it in the bank, and we can come back and say, hey, we have an extra X amount. The other thing I was thinking about, we're always talking about leveraging the funds, and being a member of the CPA, we're saying, you bring us the way that you're going to leverage funds. So we have $250,000. How can we double that? The elephant in the room, obviously, is Housatonic Waterworks should be leveraging that. They should be matching that. They should be matching $250,000. We should have at least $500,000. So I would like to make a call to Housatonic Waterworks. Can you match this $250,000? Where are you? Where are they? I guess I'm just saying that there's obviously, and this is a whole nother discussion, but my main thing is the bank and just other creative solutions. And I'm learning a lot. And obviously we're all kind of the brains churning, but I do think that there's a lot more discussion.
Yeah. Just to go a step further, we asked Housatonic Water to help in this, and I'm not saying we shouldn't ask again. We didn't even get a response. That's just the clear fact. I'm not saying anything that isn't a fact. And I think it's a good gesture to ask them to match it, but I think in reality we have 250, and that's after we ask them to match it, we're still gonna have 250.
Yeah. At least it's out there. At least we asked.
I guess I completely understand a lot of people's concerns, and filtration's expensive, but and I believe this is what the Board of Health is helping. And I know, just single guy in a house, I go through at least 10 gallons of water, and I personally go to a store, refill the containers. I go through it every week. So I do think that there is relief to everybody, everyday citizens, that, with a high end, sits next to your sink, you fill it up and it does work, with the situations we have. Now, yeah, I understand it does not necessarily do your laundry, but it saves you the burden of taking your 5-gallon jugs elsewhere. And I think that is something that should be considered, and I'm sure would be very useful to everybody. So just something to keep in mind, and like fully on board, like what Steve said, that today isn't the last day of this discussion, and definitely not the last day of research. So
I don't want to minimize this by any means, because if anybody knows, listen to me, I've really been a proponent of having something done, because I don't think we're doing enough. But if I may say, and I may get some flack, $500 is better than no dollars. It is a start. We acknowledge there's a start. We know it's not the be all end all. We know we have more work to do, but we're trying to reach out and trying to at least make a start. And again, if I personally feel Housatonic Water really needs to get on the ball. They are responsible, not really the select board. We have the power to do some things, but they're the people that haven't even answered us. They're the people that are serving your water. They're the people that are putting the screws to you. And we definitely have work to do. I don't deny that. But when they're talking about, again, this goes as far as affordable housing, just to make an analogy, 20 houses was better than no houses when people wanted to afford it. So we understand, I understand. I know what needs to be done, not getting done yet, but we got it, we know.
So we'll put this on the July 10th agenda, and we'll hopefully have the Board of Health weighing in, which will give us some help with that, because they're working on it. So hopefully by July 10th that they will weigh in on that.
Could I just ask one thing, Steve?
Of course.
What are you putting on the July 10th, just so I understand?
It will be the Housatonic Waterworks temporary relief for residents, customers, continuing to step down. Well, we'll also put on about what our approach is going to be to the filing with the state. Both of those will be on in separate. Yeah, definitely. And I don't know there'll be a lot of discussion on that. What ultimately is we want to be part of the discussion. So as last time that there was a rate increase request, we apply for intervenor status. My assumption will be that's what the board will want to do this time also. I know we will want to. Host community agreements, Calyx, D2N2 LLC. Mark?
I'm gonna go ahead and vote with our SB council as a panelist. So in your, while we're waiting for him, in your packet for this evening is a copy of the original 2018 host community agreement with Calyx, as well as a copy of the proposed renewal amendment for your consideration this evening. This is the first host community agreement renewal before this board since their 5-year agreements. And David's here, if there's any questions you have, and you can expect to see other renewals coming to the board throughout the next year or so as these initial agreements start to expire. So David is with us.
Okay, so do we have any questions? Well, we had time to read it, I hope. And
Yeah, jumping in.
What's it? Jump right in.
Yeah, my question just kind of is about, so in this new agreement, rather than just paying the flat 3%, we'll be calculating up to 3%. Is that essentially the idea?
Correct.
I'm just curious, do you have any more information about how we'll be doing those calculations and tracking the impact, and then who that will fall under?
So any staff member, police, fire, building department, my office will be required to track these expenses going forward. So that's something I would talk about with staff at department head.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the host community agreement for Calyx as written.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Look forward to the next one. 5 years from now.
Thank you.
Take care. Approve year-end budget transfer, so. We can do this one of two ways. The finance committee has already approved these and they've gone through each one briefly. There wasn't a lot of questions, there were a few, or we can just approve it in total and say to approve the year-end budget transfers as presented. It's up to the board.
I'm good with approving them as presented.
Good night.
Yep.
You have a motion, Aaron, maybe quick for you.
I make a motion to approve the year-end budget transfer request as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Ellie, thank you.
We'll have these included in the folder.
Yeah. Last is ratify the union contract for 3 town departments.
Okay, so we've also included in your packet for tonight 3 MOAs, memorandum of agreements. We've concluded collective bargaining agreements. That process started back in, I'm gonna say September, October, with our 3 unions, police, libraries, and public works. And in summary, I think I'll just walk you through a few highlights here for those at home. I know you're all aware of this, but all contracts provide for a 4%, 3%, 3% salary increase over the next 3 years. We've asked for, this was something the town asked for, which is a pre-grievance meeting will now be required. So that will be a new step 1 in the process for grievances. Fortunately, we don't receive many, but we thought this might be a good way to just engage in a conversation early on in the process before it escalates. And all 3 unions agreed to that. We included the Juneteenth holiday, which was not a holiday 3 years ago when we negotiated these agreements. And we updated any reference to Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. We clearly defined family members, and all 3 of these new contracts are prior versions were unclear. And there's a lot of relations that we didn't include, step relations and things like that, and other household members that we weren't considering prior. So this new version addresses that. We've increased the longevity by $100 per category. So now our new contracts will be $300 for an employee that has worked for the town for 5 years, $400 for an employee that's worked for us for 10 years, $600 for 15 years of service, and $850 for 20 years of service. And just to put some context to this, when I started here in 2005, the existing longevity scale was in place. So I have no idea how long it's been in place, but it's a minor increase and it's been many, many years. So I think it's overdue. We made a very minor market rate adjustment for most stipends. So as you look through the contracts, you'll see that, for example, the boot stipend for public works went from like 300 to 350, things like that, nothing major. And then we made several language edits throughout all 3 contracts where some of the language was just too open to interpretation or vague to try to close some holes in the contract. So all in all, it was it was a great negotiation session. Everyone was very professional. We had some fantastic conversations. We worked together really well, and everyone is happy with the agreements that you have in front of you this evening. So.
We have a motion to approve.
Have a question.
Yeah, you will have.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the union contracts for 3 years as discussed.
You want to just
Department of Public Works, Libraries, and Police Department for FY24 through FY26.
Second, a motion, a second. Careful, go right ahead.
These things are said and done, I guess, is this what I understand?
Yeah, they follow the guidelines that we provided and to the town manager.
Well, I just have a little objection. I don't do anything. But I'm really kind of against the giving you a holiday. If the holiday's on a Saturday, you get a Friday off. That just gives the people of the town of Great Barrington one less day to do their town work, and the town is only open from 8:30 to 4, which is a 6.5 hour day. Everyone works probably an 8-hour day. Well, I don't, but a lot of people work an 8-hour day. And I just think, and doing the Sunday, Monday thing, to me, this is not necessary. You already have the day off. Why do I think you need to have that Friday off when no one else is probably gonna have that off? So that's just my objection to that. I just think that's silly.
So that clause has been in our contracts, our collective bargaining agreements for many years. We do have to provide by state law paid holidays for our staff.
Okay.
And we don't work 6.5 hour days. We do work 8-hour days. Our regular hours, and this excludes some departments where they may be working a 4-2 schedule or something like that, like our public safety departments. But we work 8:30 to 5 o'clock. We do close the door at 4:30.
4:30
or 4 o'clock. I'm sorry.
4 o'clock. Isn't that 6.5 hours?
But we do remain here until 5 o'clock. So.
But that doesn't allow the residents to get in the door unless they have a key after 4 o'clock, right?
That's correct.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, we do try to offer as many options for after-hour services as possible. You can purchase things, pay taxes, for example, online, purchase tags for the transfer station. We have drop boxes outside that were installed during COVID. So if you're swinging by here early in the morning or late at night, you can pay your taxes and without having to wait for town halls to be open. So.
Just to clarify, this is not a done deal until we vote on it. The unions have already voted on it. If we were to vote against it, we could do that. It would be shocking to do, but it could be done. This is not a rubber stamp. We have a right. We give the town manager direction at the beginning, and then we vote on it at the end. And if there's problems we could have met in the middle, there weren't any in his estimation, and I guess mine too. So no, it's not a rubber stamp.
Just my little extra that I didn't specify or like to maybe throw in there. If we're gonna do that, the price, can we increase the Thursday hours so the door actually being open until 5? If we're gonna give a Friday off.
Are you referring to town hall?
Town hall, yes.
So town hall staff is not unionized.
I'm sorry.
This doesn't apply to town hall staff.
Okay.
So that is something that we could consider doing. We could change the hours of town hall to be open one evening. That is something we can do outside of these contracts. But just so you know, the memorandums of agreement that you have in front of you don't address the holiday, Saturday, Sunday options. That those are already in our existing contracts.
Anyone else?
I have a question about an item in the police MOA. Item number 2, or about the body cams, and then they're receiving a stipend of $1,200. Can you explain that a little bit?
That was something that was a request of, just trying to find it. That was something we did negotiate during the process. Looking back on my first contract negotiation with the police union, body cameras weren't even on the table. And this was a way to get the conversation started and ultimately seal the deal. I think it's beneficial to both the town and to anyone they interact with to have a recording. They did come around to it. This was just one way to kind of move that conversation along.
I'm not sure I completely understand that. We have to, are you saying we had to offer, or whomever had to offer $1,000 to someone who's a body cam in the line of duty that they should be doing regardless? Aren't body cams, I can't say a necessity, but are they not required?
They're not required.
They're not required.
But not required. That was all part of this negotiation process.
this was essentially like an incentive to get them to adopt the program.
That's correct.
Well, just putting it out there, kind of don't agree with that. I think that's a foolish waste of money. Everybody else in the working world, if your job is to do your job. My dad was a cop, I get it, but that's your job.
I don't think it's uncommon, this practice, but.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to like it if it's not uncommon.
But no, you can not like it. There's other things, and you have every right to not like something. When you do negotiations, there's give and take, and I'm not sure what the other side of that was since I wasn't at the table. So there may be something else that we got in return for that. So, yeah.
Thanks for explaining. Appreciate it.
Yeah, the other, not to get off track here, but you know, like I said, two contracts back when we were negotiating, civil service and body cams were originally on the table and didn't make it across the finish line. So again, this was one way to get that requirement included in the contract, and they were open to it.
I would be too. I couldn't get an extra grand to wear a body cam, and I should be wearing it anyway.
Okay, we have a
That's just
motion. Yeah, I can. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Against?
No,
I'm sorry?
I said no.
So you vote against?
Yeah.
4-1. Yeah, passes. Thank you, everyone. Citizen speak time. And while people are thinking, we had 30 people online tonight, and we had roughly a half dozen people in the room. I didn't count, but I think it was about a half dozen. Phil will correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Elizabeth Rockefeller, go right ahead, Liz.
Elizabeth Rockefeller, 284 Park Street, Great Barrington. In response to Garfield's comment, the reason why the Housatonic residents are bringing this issue to our town government, whom we pay taxes to, we don't pay taxes to the town of Housatonic, is because we are covered under the 1970 Clean Water Act and are entitled to clean and safe water. The Housatonic Water Company is only in this business for their own benefit. They don't care. We have been shouting fire for many years with no response. Are we upset? Extremely upset right now? Yes, we are.
Thank you.
And I am upset as well, just so you're aware of that and understand our position.
Anyone else? Select board's time. Ben. Garfield.
No.
Eric.
Nothing, thank you.
Lee. And nothing for me. Media time. We got a lot done in an hour.
I gotta tell you, I know. They'd be here till about 8.
I was thinking.
Let's stay in.
By unanimous consent, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.